Welcome to Quebec City, the most European city in North America and perfect for a weekend getaway. With its fortified walls, centuries of history and sheer beauty, this is one of the oldest cities in North America. In this travel guide, we're going to take you on a 3-day itinerary that encompasses incredible cuisine, historic sites, beautiful waterfalls, and even some hidden gems. We're starting off our day in Quebec City on Rue Saint-Jean. This is one of the oldest commercial streets in the city, and it dates all the way back to the 19th century when lots of merchants moved to the area and their houses would double as their shop fronts. Today, you can visit for all kinds of vintage stores, thrift shops, independent boutiques, and cafes. We started off the day by heading to a cozy cafe which serves up coffees which they have nicknamed the Quebecano, as it's an Americano containing maple syrup. They also have some pretty tasty waffles. One highlight of the road is the Church of St. Matthew's. This dates back to the latter half of the 19th century, although the accompanying cemetery actually dates back a century before this, making it the oldest Protestant cemetery in the region. Today, the building has actually been transformed into a library, but you can still admire the church's exterior. The cemetery was in use from 1772 until 1860, and the unique thing about this is it really feels like you're a cemetery in the heart of England as opposed to being in Quebec City. The church itself is actually based on the design of one in Liverpool, England. Today, around 314 gravestone markers survive, but originally there would have been 6,000 to 10,000 people interred here. In 2009 to 2010, the city of Quebec actually restored the whole of the cemetery, and it's now a peaceful park. Nearby, you'll find the Grand Allée. This is often pedestrianised on national holidays, such as today, and it's full of bars, cafes, and brasseries. The Plains of Abraham are named for a battle of the same name which took place on the 13th of September 1759. It was during this battle, which lasted just 30 minutes, that the French were defeated by the British. It was also during this battle that General Wolfe as well as General Montcalm were both mortally wounded. Today, the park serves as a delightful green space for the city of Quebec. It was actually ceded to the city in 1908, and ever since, members of the public have been able to come here, enjoy the serene, quiet space, and also sporting events as well as festivals in the summer. If you're visiting Quebec in the summer, which I really recommend doing because it's probably one of the best times to visit apart from the winter, then there's one corner of the garden which is particularly special as it's completely in bloom right now. The Joan of Arc Garden was created in 1938, and what's particularly special about this green space is that it combines French classical style as well as British style borders. Today, you can see over 150 different varieties of plants, and right now everything is in bloom. We even managed to see some monarch butterflies. The Citadel of Quebec was built between 1820 and 1831 by the British in order to reinforce the city's defences. It's still an active military fortress, and it's the oldest still standing colonial fortress in Canada. Today, you can actually visit for a small fee, but you can still see the exterior from the Plains of Abraham if you don't have very much time. This is actually the largest fortress in Canada, and since 1872, it served as the official second residence of the Governor-General of Canada. From here, you have amazing views onto our next destination, Vieux-Québec. We then carried on down the hill towards the streets of Old Quebec. On the way, we stumbled on a little church dedicated to Saint-Pierre, which is built in the neo-Gothic style. What was particularly unique about this building is that you could actually go upstairs where you can enjoy views of the 19th century architecture from above. Château Frontenac is probably the most iconic landmark in the city skyline of Quebec. It's widely considered to be the most photographed hotel in the world, and it was built in 1893 to serve as a hotel. Today, you'll find over 600 rooms at over 18 levels. And one of the main reasons that this area is so iconic is thanks to the Dufferin Terrace. The terrace was first opened to the public in 1838 and has proved really popular thanks to its commanding views over the St. Lawrence River. Visit today and you can often find street performers performing here, incredible views onto the Château Frontenac, and some bandstands. There's even a tobogganing slide that dates back over 100 years that's used every winter. The toboggan dates all the way back to 1884, although it's only open in the winter. It has top speeds of 70 kilometers an hour. Château Frontenac was built by the Canadian Pacific Railway Company as one of the first great railway hotels of Canada. It was a way of encouraging members of the public to visit new areas. Now it's partially owned and managed by Fairmont, and it's a very luxurious hotel, so if you do want to stay here, it is quite pricey. As soon as you walk through the courtyard of the chateau, look up above the entrance arch and you'll spot something most visitors miss: the Malta stone, which was carved all the way back in 1647. From the moment you step into the lobby, you're hit by the wow factor. Intricate details can be found around every turn, and everything is simply exquisite. Le Champlain is the hotel's signature restaurant and has been serving guests in style for more than a century. Think chandeliers, sweeping views over the St. Lawrence, and a menu that reflects today's creative Quebecois cuisine. It's also here where you'll get to see the chateau's impressive wine cellars, which are pretty unique in that instead of being tucked away underground like most wine collections, this one is located in the hotel's former library. From the moment it opened, the chateau was a magnet for royalty, politicians, and Hollywood stars alike. Kings and queens have stayed here. Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt even met inside during World War II to plan the D-Day landings. If you're a movie buff, then it's worth noting that Alfred Hitchcock used the hotel in his 1953 film I Confess. Once back outside, underneath the Dufferin Terrace, there's a museum hiding just out of view. This is the Saint Louis Fort and Chateau National Historic Site, and here you can see the remnants of Chateau Saint Louis, the official residence of French and then later British governors from 1620 to 1834. The reason that it was only occupied until 1834 is because this is when a devastating fire happened. Today, you can see the foundations as well as some of the artifacts that survived the fire. We've stopped for a quick bite, so we've decided to get a poutine. This is a local dish, but because I'm vegetarian, I can't eat the normal ones, so we're trying 2 vegetarian ones. We're right by the chateau, so hopefully this will still be good, even though we're in a very touristy location. Surprisingly quite good. Something that's worth noting prior to visiting Quebec is that it actually has its very own parliament. This is because it's a province with its own special historical, cultural, and legal distinctions, allowing it to legislate on matters which are important to its citizens while still remaining a part of Canada as a whole. Because Vieux-Québec is actually quite compact, you could easily see it over the course of a day. However, if you want to take your time and get to see all of the different monuments, then I suggest what we're doing, which is seeing it over the course of 2 days. Quebec City is the only walled city north of Mexico. It also happens to be the capital of French-speaking Canada, meaning that everyone speaks French here. Strolling through Quebec City often feels like strolling the streets of Europe, and nowhere is this more obvious than coming to the Mural of Quebec. This depicts many historic figures, including Samuel de Champlain. Place Royale is the spot where Samuel Champlain founded Quebec City in 1608. Today, it's full of French influences. There's even a bust of Louis XIV here. One of the main highlights of this square also towers above it. This is the Church of Notre-Dame des Victoires, and it dates all the way back to 1688, making it one of the oldest churches in North America. It's also the oldest stone church in Quebec. As you can probably tell, Quebec City is very hilly, and so a great way to get from the old town up to Château Frontenac is to take the funicular. Something that's pretty interesting when you're walking around Vieux-Québec is that you'll find these little plaques. They'll tell you more about the history of the building that you're looking at, as many of the edifices here date back hundreds of years. The only bad thing is that they're only in French, but I'm sure you could use Google Translate if you need it. When you're wandering along the pedestrian-only streets, it can often feel like each street is more picturesque than the last, but this is one of my personal favorites, and it's known for its iconic umbrella display. Rue du Petit-Champlain lies at the foot of Cap Diamant and is often said to be the oldest commercial street in North America. In any case, it's pedestrian only, it's cobbled, and it's full of little boutiques where you can pick up amazing souvenirs. Quebec is a city of staircases, and the most iconic of them all has to be Breakneck Stairs. Although the name sounds pretty perilous, it was actually coined by British tour guides, and there's never ever been any serious accident on the stairs. The staircase you see today was created in the 1960s, though there's been some sort of pathway in between Côté de la Montagne and Rue du Petit-Champlain since the 1600s. Wandering through Quebec City at night feels completely different than during the daytime, but is equally as charming as when it's light out. I honestly loved the vibe of Old City Quebec at night, as there were way fewer tourists around, and so you had lots of quiet corners to yourself. There was also the opportunity to see lots of live street performances. We ended our day by heading to Don, a vegan restaurant serving up all kinds of tasty meat-free dishes. The vibe of the eatery is chic and I really enjoyed the hearty portions. However, I wasn't as much of a fan of their cocktails. Of course, one of the best things about coming to Canada is its nature. And so if you head just 15 minutes from downtown Quebec, you'll come to Montmorency Falls, which we've come to this morning. Once here, there are actually a few activities you can do. There's a lot of hiking trails nearby, as well as a walk all the way up to the waterfall. If you don't want to do that, then there's also a cable car, and a really good option that you can do is actually take the cable car up and then come back down via the stairs, so you get to experience both but save a little bit of time. There's also a via ferrata as well as zip lining. We've just made it up to the top near where the falls are, and to be honest, the views from the cable car, if you make it to the front of the cable car, are worth the price tag alone. From here, we can see the Ile d'Orléans on the other side of the St. Lawrence River, and to be honest, there's actually quite a lot of construction work here that I wasn't expecting, but I'm sure the view onto the falls once we reach them will be great. The suspension bridge that we're going to see now was built in 1993. There was actually an original suspension bridge on site which dated all the way back to 1856 and was one of the first of its kind in North America. However, it unfortunately collapsed shortly after opening, and so this one was built in the 1990s in order to replace it. Today, it offers spectacular views onto the falls, and honestly, it's just a marvel of engineering. As I mentioned, there's quite a few different trails in the area, and the really nice thing about walking around here is that each time it gives you a difficulty level, the amount of time you need, and that kind of thing, which just makes it way easier to plan your trip. For the actual falls, if you just want to do the usual circuit, I've just worn my trainers and I feel fine in them. We're now going to make our way down the steps to reach the bottom view and then the car park to head to our next destination. So it's taken us around 2 hours to do the full loop, and to be honest, I really think it's good value for money because you get to see the falls and there are several other activities like the hikes. The views are simply stunning, especially if you come on a clear day like today, and just a few days after the rainfall, because it means that the falls are much more full. Something that Quebec isn't necessarily super famous for, but it's a nice activity in the region if you're visiting in the summer or the early autumn, is to head to a winery. And so we've driven around 10 minutes to reach Île d'Orléans in the St. Lawrence River in order to check out a local vineyard. Throughout the day, you can actually do tastings here. They do have a set formula for around $25 where you can try a number of wines, but we decided because we don't have a lot of time to do the $2 glasses, you get given a little card and then you get to use the wine machine to get your tasting. Hopefully it will be good. I think this one's a Chardonnay. Not quite like the Chardonnay I'm used to, but a unique taste. They also have red, rosé, and there was a gin, but we didn't have enough credits to try it. Right, for the rosé. Oh, I really like that. That's really good. If you visit during certain days of the week, then you can also enjoy pizza together with your wine. It was a pretty nice experience, especially on a sunny day when we could overlook the vineyard. Those with a sweet tooth will love driving to the chocolate shop at Saint-Petronil. Here you can find all kinds of delicious sweet treats. Established in 1988, this charming shop is best known for its handcrafted chocolates, including truffles, pralines, maple butter chocolates, and more. The island is full of local producers, and so we've driven to the other side of Île d'Orléans to come to a local jam shop. They also have a really cute cafe here where they sell different specialties. One of the local ones is this slush, which is mixed with spicy water. We weren't quite sure what it is. It's a mocktail, so let's try it. That's really good, but actually a bit spicy. And to be honest, when the server gave it to us, he did say it might be a bit too spicy and I can always add some more slush, but it's honestly very tasty. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more travel content. See you next week.